Chris, I have good news. Are you ready for some good news?
You know it. Let me hear it.
Do you want some good news? Here's the good news. I spent a lot of time this weekend trying to answer the fundamental question of whether or not there will be an NFL season this year. And I was told, and I believe it, that there is an extremely small chance that there will not be an NFL season. Extremely small. And I said, okay, so what is it going to take to hit that extremely small chance of no NFL season? And basically, it would have to be that the understanding that has been developed to date regarding the coronavirus, the COVID-19 condition, everything they've learned, they would have to determine that they were dramatically and fundamentally wrong on so many of the things they already know. And if they are right about the things they've learned, and so much has been learned over the last 6, 8, 12 weeks about this virus, and it just continues to accumulate, and it accumulates quickly, out of sight. A lot of stuff happening that we don't know about. We're caught up in the news and the immediacy and the statements and the experts and the warnings and the guidelines. A lot of stuff is happening. Scientists are making strides behind the scenes, Chris, and the big factor is this: the anticipated availability of an explosion in testing. Quick and efficient and easy testing. Saliva testing, not that gigantic alien probe that has to go up your nose and scrape the back of your brain that we've all seen horrific videos of. Quick and easy testing. Quick and easy results. Available for everyone. By August, I'm told that is where we will be, that there are factories that are making these things by the millions. And so that's where the good news comes from. Because, look, unless they're going to do biodome football where they put everybody in Florida or Arizona or Area 51 or the Antarctic and keep them there for the full football season, you're going to have to test everyone every day when they show up at the facility to make sure they're not positive. It sounds like, based on where things are, that's where we'll be by the time football season rolls around, which makes it even more likely that they're going to get the season in. So that was very encouraging to me over the weekend. That gave me a little lift over the weekend. There's still a lot of concern. There's reason to be concerned. There's reason for people who are in the risk groups to be careful. But it looks like they're going to be able to pull this off one way or the other, Chris.
Well, they certainly they certainly seem confident. You know, I know that the message has not changed from ownership from the very get-go. They've been very steadfast on, we're going to have football in 2020. And I know that's, you know, the same themes that are being pushed to some of my coach friends throughout the NFL. You know, they feel like ownership isn't batting an eye, and they feel like things will be done within society that are going to put the NFL in position to be able to have this season. You know, I do. Hey, listen, there's a lot of things that go into this. And, of course, the testing is the biggest thing, right, Mike? You know, but this is a lot of money, of course, to be made or missed from the NFL. These players being young and what they look at as being indestructible anyways, I think the majority are going to want to play. Yes, there's risk, but I think, you know, like you said, is if we have this influx of testing, that can certainly make it very, very possible. And to where, hey, yes, we're still going to have to be careful as a society, and the teams and players will have to be careful too. It's not that you're going to be able to, like, oh, you know, go to football practice and leave and go out and party in a room of thousands of people and have fun. No, you know, you're not going to be able to do that. You're still going to have to kind of live life the way we're living it right now, except you might have just the jurisdiction to go to practice and be tested and whatever else and come home. If you do go risk, you know, going to the bar or going to some club with 1,000 people, and the next day you come in and test positive for COVID-19, you're injured. You're not playing this week.
Right.
Or we have to quarantine you. And that's how it's going to go. And if players want to take that risk, then that'll be on them to see if they want to be healthy and be able to play and contribute to their football team.
But isn't that the ultimate incentive, to go home and stay home
Definitely.
and stay away from other people? Because your team is counting on you. You are counting on you. You want to play. The idea that every time you show up at the facility on Monday for film study, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for practice, Saturday for walkthrough, Sunday for games, if you are tested every single time, I don't want to compare this to marijuana testing, but ultimately, if you test positive for marijuana, at least prior to this current CBA, enough times, you aren't allowed to play. And it doesn't matter whether it's punitive or why it's there. You don't get to play, period. Football players want to play. So for the same reasons that guys who were facing a potential suspension for an additional marijuana positive would realize, I better be careful. I want to play football. That same mindset is going to be there all year long. I want to play football. It doesn't matter whether or not I think I could fight off the coronavirus. It doesn't matter whether or not I think I would be an asymptomatic carrier of the germ. What matters is if they swab my mouth and they rub it on the little card and it comes back positive, I'm done. I'm done for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who knows how long. That's the ultimate incentive to get these guys to go straight home, stay home, and not go out and see other people.
I agreed. It is. It's the ultimate incentive. I mean, yes, and you would hope that would keep players on the straight and narrow, let alone, the human aspect of it too. Of course, professionally, yeah, these guys want to stay healthy and play and, put good film out there in case they're a free agent after next year and they can strike it rich and make money that way. So you want to be able to be available on the field. But the other aspect too is, do you really want to be that jerk in the locker room who did go to the club and now, comes in and, puts people at risk, whether that's older coaches on the coaching staff or older men that are in the front office or anybody else, you're going to be endangering people that way too. So I think between the ability to play and the fact of you don't want to be the jerk that brings it into some, facility, organization, or endanger anybody in your family or professionally, I would think that leads to players being very strict and making this happen. I'm hopeful. I really am. Again, I know things aren't going to be normal by the time September comes around, but I just want us to keep, going in that direction. And I do think watching football will be a great stress relief, Band-Aid, whatever the hell you want to call it, for our country and all of us.
One of the reasons why the NFL spent so much time and effort and worry in the concussion litigation was because the argument was that the NFL had failed to properly advise players as to the risks they were taking, that it was covered up, that it was concealed, that it was hidden from them. The exact opposite is going to be the case as it relates to the coronavirus. The NFL will be very open, very clear in the warnings, and older coaches, Chris, as you mentioned, they'll be given the option to not coach. And the speculation that I was privy to over the weekend is that there would be some sort of compensation for them if they choose not to accept the risk. This is going to be a risk that everyone knows about. Whether or not you accept that risk is on you, but it's going to be that individual decision, recognizing, am I over 60? Do I have diabetes? Do I have other health conditions that could cause me to be at risk of a negative outcome? And here's the other thing, too. The treatment protocols are going to be much improved by the time we get to September, where the death rate for COVID-19 will be lower than it has been because they are figuring out every day, every hour, different ways to fight this, different ways to treat this. And the institutions that are figuring it out are sharing that information with other hospitals. So we'll be in a better spot. August, September is a long time from now. I know it's going to come quickly, but think of how much the world's changed since March 11, and it's only May 4. August 1 is a long, long time away, and a lot's going to change between now and then. And Chris, look, we've assumed that football will happen in empty stadiums. There's confidence that these stadiums will be open. Now, whether or not they're full is a different issue. But the people who are young and are confident that they're not going to suffer a serious outcome, they're going to be allowed to go to the games in the states that will allow congregations.
Right.
But, the other side of it, too, is the antibody testing. There will be thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who know that they've already had the virus and their body has fought it off so they don't have to worry about catching it. That will allow people to say, I'm good to go, regardless of risk factors, regardless of anything. I'm good to go. I got my antibody bill of health here, and I can go to football games. I can go to restaurants. I can go to clubs.
Right.
I can do whatever. I've already had it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to have it. We need that. I mean, forget about sports. We need it regardless, just to get back to the normal life, functions. But yes, I think if the antibody test is going around to where enough people could start to get it, you're right. I mean, a lot of people are going to realize, wow, I've already had it. Okay, I'm comfortable going to sit at a stadium. And hey, Mike, we're also seeing in society right now, again, people weren't hundreds of thousands of people weren't afraid to go on the beach in California. I'm not so sure they're going to feel that much more scared to go into a stadium. I understand it's a little closer quarters, but I think there's, I think people will be willing to, maybe take those type of chances. But hopefully the testing is so far down the line that we won't have to worry about stuff quite like that and really endangering ourselves for, a second run at this whole thing.
Now, here's the thing. In order to get to the point where every state and the governors of those states where the NFL has stadiums will sign off on this, the start of the season may have to be delayed. That's why they're building in the possibility of a February 28 Super Bowl as opposed to February 7. That's why it's moving in that direction. In order to get 256 games, all of which are played in stadiums that are open, we may have to see a 4-week shift in the start of the season. I'd be fine with that if that happens. If it means that it's going to be a level playing field for every game. I think we need to avoid competitive imbalance as much as we can, Chris, and there's no competitive imbalance like having to go Seattle in September with no fans there. Let's look at it. It's very simple. Let's say the 49ers get their trip to Seattle week 2 and there's no fans there. The Rams go week 16 and it's full and it's deafening. That is a clear competitive imbalance as it relates to the 49ers and the Rams. They're playing the Seahawks under dramatically different circumstances.
Well, yeah, I think that players better be prepared for that. It's going to be one of those years. You're not going to be able to use that as an excuse. Hopefully they can find a schedule to where, teams on a relative basis had to play home and away games early in the year, without crowds the same amount throughout the league to where one team, isn't complaining going, hey, we played all our home games and no fans are here. And now late December, we had to go on a 5-game road trip and play all these road games. That would be a little unfair. Certainly. You're not going to be able to complain about it this year. No one's going to want to hear about it. But I would think those are the things the NFL needs to think about a little bit, certainly, to keep the competitive balance fair to where, one team isn't swayed to go, oh, well, we played 5 of our road games early in the year and we didn't have to deal with any crowd noise. And we're undefeated on the road. That will not be fair for the teams who maybe have a backloaded schedule to play on the road. And then all of a sudden you're playing in front of 70 to 80,000 people. And it's a much tougher time, as we know. Home field advantage is a real thing in the NFL.
Which means, again, if they can delay the start of the season by 4 weeks and get all of the games in with stadiums open, if that's what allows someone like Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, to say, okay, late September, we'll allow the new stadium in Inglewood to have Rams and Chargers games. We'll allow the Santa Clara Stadium to have 49ers games. Those are all considerations that could cause this to be delayed, but still to get the full 16 games in.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.